What's up, YouTube? This is your boy Big Kaz. Came from a banquet in Durham, showcasing the film Bull City Turnaround, about how some people who went down the wrong path when they grew up in not so great parts of Durham and turned it around, and now became better lives, including businessmen, traders, and in government. Hopefully, it blows up, more donations, so it can make it to the big screen. I want to talk about the 1983 NC State Wolfpack basketball team. I think it's the best national championship team in the 80s. You know, they started this year in the top 20 and worked their way up to the top 15, bottom half of the top 15 something. Then in a mid-January game against Virginia, where Virginia had beaten the Wolfpack every time they played from 1979-80 to about that day in 83. I'll get to the other three meetings later. So NC State started off the game red hot, and then next thing you know, senior guard Derek Wittenberg falls in Odell Wilson's foot and sprains his ankle, and Virginia stuns the Reynolds crowd by beating them. And Derek Wittenberg was thought to be out for the rest of the season. And then that's where NC State struggled. Although they would win games against previous national championship North Carolina, beat Maryland. I think they beat Maryland or Notre Dame. And they lost another game in Virginia and Charlottesville. But I think Wittenberg came back towards the end of the season. NC State went on a run. They beat Wake Forest in the last regular season game in Reynolds Coliseum. I think they beat Maryland the game before that one in Raleigh. And then the ACC Tournament in Atlanta the second weekend of March of 1983. They beat Wake Forest. They beat defending national champions North Carolina Tar Heels, led by Michael Jordan and Sam Perkins, in the semifinal game, and got their revenge against Virginia in the ACC Tournament, which they won the championship, and they had to win it to get into the NCAA Tournament. Then they were sent to Corvallis, Oregon, out west as the 6th seed, where they possibly would have had to face Virginia a fourth time, second time in 2 weeks. But also they had to go against UNLV and potentially UNLV and Illinois, which Illinois lost to Utah, if I remember correctly. But their first game in the NCAA Tournament of 83 in Corvallis was against Pepperdine, where they were coached by former future UCLA and Georgia, and UCLA, Rhode Island, and Georgia head coach Jim Herrick. Pepperdine was leading most of the game, and then, some player from Pepperdine was talking trash at State, and State called back, and then they pulled it off the first game, and then second game against UNLV, led by future NBA veteran Sidney Green, who played about a decade or so in the league, was talking about Thurl Bailey, saying that he wasn't all that. But then Thurl Bailey, then he hit a winning shot to beat UNLV, who was led by Tark the Shark. UNLV was a tough team in the 80s, but Tark had some characters. I mean, Jimmy V did too, don't get me wrong, but Tark definitely had some characters. Had an easy victory. They beat UNLV in Corvallis, and they got sent to Ogden, Utah, in Weber State's campus, where they beat the Utah Utes soundly, 71-56, if I recall correctly, to face the powerful Virginia Cavaliers led by Ralph Sampson, who never Well, they did reach the Final Four in 1981, where they lost to North Carolina in the national semifinal game, and they won the NIT in 1980, Ralph Sampson's freshman year. And, Virginia was like one of the best teams, not only in the ACC, but in the nation, led by Ralph Sampson, Othell Wilson, future Detroit Pistons, Indiana Pacers, and Dallas Mavericks head coach Rick Carlisle, who executed a game plan to rain on the La Pride parade in 2011. Anyways, that's enough. NC State battled it out, and Ralph Sampson missed a jumper at the end. And NC State pulled it off 63-62, where they advanced to the Final Four for the first time since they won their previous national championship back in 1974. They faced a Georgia team who beat the Tar Heels in the East Regional Finals in Syracuse the week prior. It would have been something if Carolina State played in the national semifinal game, but wasn't meant to be. It was Georgia's first appearance in the NCAA Tournament, first ever appearance. They were led by Vern Fleming, who played over about a decade or so for the Indiana Pacers, played with Reggie Miller the latter half of the decade he spent with the team. And that was after when Dominique Wilkins left. At that time, Dominique Wilkins, my favorite all-time NBA player, was a member of the Atlanta Hawks. He was a rookie that year. But NC State beat Georgia, and it was set up a national championship game against Houston, the Cougars, who had a great semifinal game against Louisville, lots of dunks. It's on YouTube, so definitely check it out if you are interested. If you get the chance, definitely check it out. It's a great game, back and forth. Lots of great plays. And NC State, exploited Houston's poor free throw shooting because Houston relied on athleticism of five Slama Jama with Akeem, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Benny Anders. Who else was on that team in Houston? Larry Michaud, Alvin Franklin, some other people. Anyways, Jimmy V's tactic worked. And, at the end, Derek Wittenberg shot an air ball. Then Lorenzo Charles, may he rest in peace, caught it, slammed it in. And it's an iconic picture of Jimmy V running around, finding somebody to hug. And NC State took it all the way. Second national championship ever. They've had some good years since then, at least in the Valvano era, going to the Elite Eight in 1985 and 86, where they lost to St. John's and Kansas, respectively. Got bounced out the early rounds in 87 and 88 to Florida and some California team, Murray State. 89, they lost the year I was born, but that's not important. They lost to Georgetown in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where they missed a call on Chris Corciani. And due to various allegations surrounding the team, Jimmy V was forced to resign. Spent his last 3 years as a commentator for ABC Sports and ESPN, which unfortunately he died in 1993. But anyways, the NC State Wolfpack, they just played together as a team. They didn't have big name superstars. They didn't have a Michael Jordan or a Patrick Ewing or a Chris Mullin or Steve Stepanovich of Missouri at the time. He played for the for the Pacers for a hot minute. Or Rodney McCray. They just relied and trusted on each other, and it teaches you about adversity. Check out the documentary Survive in Advance. It should be on Disney Plus, on Amazon Prime, or on streaming services, or if you have the DVD, still check them out. It teaches a lot of life lessons beyond basketball, because you can learn a lot of good things about sports. And I can understand the negative stigma about sports, but can teach you a lot of life lessons. And the NC State basketball team in 1983 just stuck together in adversity. They didn't let one mishap happen or several mishaps happen to hinder their progress. They use that as an example. Like when something happens like that, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in a team, at work, school, sorority, fraternity, group of friends, whatever, y'all stick together. There's going to always be some beef, but y'all got to push through it and work together because, that's what life is all about. You're going to have your challenges, have your problems, but you got to push through. And, that team will, if you watch the documentary, you'll be inspired by that great team. Anyways, this is your boy Big Kaz. I'll catch you next time. Take care.